Good afternoon, everyone. We'll just give it a couple more minutes and then we'll make a start. Great. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm here today to talk about supporting and recruiting and retaining your apprentices. My name's Suzanne. I work as an apprenticeship specialist. I personally have a passion for working with businesses and showing them how apprenticeships can help their businesses to grow and for the personal and professional development of their employees at all levels, from office junior right through to director level. So a little bit about apprenticeships. When did they start? They actually started in 1563. They started to become a little bit more regulated around that time. They did start a little bit earlier, but they became more regulated, and they imposed price fixes and minimum wages, and basically they were owned by a master. They would have no more than 3 apprentices at a time, and they would all be men, and they would last about 7 years. So the advantages of recruiting apprentices. So you're providing skilled workers for your future growth plans within your business. The apprenticeship will also include that you've got the skills gaps needed to match your company's future needs. An apprenticeship also encourages employees to think of their job as a career and to stay with the company for longer due to you investing in them. So by recruiting an apprentice, 80% of employers have maintained or improved the future skills in the business. That all helps in businesses' growth plans for the future. 91% of apprentices stay in work or complete further training after their apprenticeship. These are for careers. Apprenticeships create careers. They're all from levels 2 right the way through to level 7. 66% of employers have experienced improved staff morale, and 1 in 3 is given a promotion within 12 months of finishing their placement. 70% of employers have seen improvements in the goods and services. So how to recruit apprentices? Very straightforward. Create an apprenticeship service account on the government site, choose a training course, choose a training provider, and create an apprenticeship opportunity within that site. I can support with all of those functions. What are the advantages of recruiting apprentices? So you fill in the skills gaps, which you allow to need for your business to source future managers and leaders from within. So where you're using apprenticeships to upskill, you are empowering those individuals within your business to become future leaders. You're also nurturing the next generation of talent. 88% of employers believe that apprenticeships led to a more motivated and satisfied workforce. 9 out of 10 apprentices remain in employment or go on to further training. 92% of apprentices state that their employment prospects had improved. And one of my favourite stats, 1 in 5 directors started their career as an apprentice. So some of the financial benefits of recruiting apprentices: that an apprentice training is fully funded for a 16, 17 and 18-year-old. That means that if you have a course that costs £5,000, that would be fully funded. That's up to an amount of £27,000 from the government. If they are 19 and above, the government will fund 95% of that. So put in monetary terms, £10,000 course, it would be funded to £9,750, and you would co-invest that 5%. So what you can do as well, you can utilise what's called the apprenticeship levy. This is certainly something, if you've got 19 plus apprentices, that you should be really tapping into to get this resource. This is basically underspent levy from larger businesses that have to put aside 25% of their annual wage bill into an apprenticeship levy to upskill their own apprentices. However, that goes unspent. So a lot of these businesses, they're not utilising that. So it allows those businesses to support smaller businesses to pay for that training. So they would cover the 100% of the training regardless of the age. And if it doesn't get used, it goes back into Treasury and it's gone. So we may as well use that for apprenticeships. So retaining apprentices, so reasons why they're more likely to stay. So they're driven by the training. They know that when they go for that role, that they're going to get an accredited standard at the end of that 12, 18-month period. It's offered as part of their job. You're also attracting a pool of candidates that are driven. They want to achieve that apprenticeship. They go into the role knowing that they're going to get a qualification at the end of it. A learner actively seeks out an apprenticeship. There's a government site specifically for finding apprenticeships and businesses that are recruiting apprentices. You're going to get a focused individual with a clear incentive to stay within the business, and that's because you're investing in that individual. So if you bring in new talent, so this is recruiting, so rather than upskilling, if you looked at entry-level apprentices, in many cases it would be the candidate's first full-time job. That gives an element for development then. So they're coming in as a level 2 with the right processes and support, mentoring. They can then become where we want to see them as leaders and managers at level 6. So with that promise of structured progression, it puts them in place with the right training required, and also for their own personal and professional development. So again, the apprenticeships are mapped to specific roles, so they are employer-led. They aren't driven by the government. There's 700 apprenticeships that meet about 1,500 roles, and it shows a clear mapped progression. So you can go in and start at level 2 in finance and progress right up to completing a CIMA qualification. So that's just an example of the progression that an individual can make. So with the right onboarding, mentoring and support, apprentices can have a pathway from entry level. So they're really going to want to stay because they want to know that they've got a career within your business. So employees understanding their next career step with a company is a great way of helping to keep your talent within your business. So you're also nurturing confidence. Again, if you bring in young people in straight from school, you're giving your learner belief that you know that they can achieve. So you're giving confidence to that individual. It's an important aspect for developing that future talent. You want your team to grow, and that's going to help your business to grow. To use an example, given the advanced apprenticeships, such as the management program, so chartered manager, masters in business, when you upskill, it's because so that they can understand the structured progression that the apprenticeship will offer. So some famous apprentices that I like to just talk about at in my slides, just to prove that they do work. Stella McCartney, she started as a tailor on Savile Row. Serena McLennan, he was in theatre, I believe. Ozzy Osbourne, Leonardo da Vinci, Karen Millen, Henry Ford. They've all been successful apprentices. I've added some links in there, but I'm going to share the slides with you after this workshop today. But for now, I'm going to hand you over to Jen, who's going to talk a little bit more about some functional skills requirements.
Thank you for that. Hello, everybody. I'm Jen Leggett. I am employed and work with the growth company within the Education and Skills division. We do deliver apprenticeships, but we also have other elements to funding streams within our business, and within Greater Manchester as well as Liverpool. It's a legal entitlement for everybody who hasn't already obtained a grade A to C, or a grade, I'm old school, or grades 4 to 9 in their maths and English. So if you haven't already obtained those qualifications in school, we are able to fully fund them if they're 19 and over. What we are finding as an organisation, because a lot of employers do look for those grades for an apprentice before they're actually employed, what we can do is actually put them onto their functional skills element of the programme before they come and join you, so they have got those grades. What we've also found is that we can also support those that are doing higher qualifications. So if you're doing a level 6 apprenticeship and you haven't got your level 2 in functional skills, it can be a bit overwhelming to do the functional skills element alongside the apprenticeship. So we are able to support with that delivery of those programs prior to the apprenticeship. And we've found that a lot of people find it more simple and more easier for them to do their apprenticeship if they've already previously got those grades in their functional skills. So there is other elements that we can do when it comes to the delivery of the functional skills, but we also can add other programs on through other funding streams and give you a full package, CPD package for that apprentice before they start with program. So if you have a requirement for existing members of staff, because as you know, apprenticeships aren't just for new apprentices, they're for existing as well as new members of staff. And you do have that requirement, please get in touch, because we are able to support and place everybody onto those programs. We've had some great success stories with our functional skills provision. We are currently working with 5 NHS trusts throughout the whole of Greater Manchester, and I've been helping healthcare assistants upskill their maths and English so they can apply for nursing associate programs within the trust. So it's a great progression route for them and for them to achieve. And some of them are going to be apprentices as well. Some are looking at apprenticeships for radiography. So you can see the benefits it does have to those actual learners. So really we've got, that's it from me really. It was just, I know that Suzanne's covered quite a lot in her first slides about apprenticeships, and but my introduction really was to discuss how additional training and funding is available there for apprentices before they come onto programme.
Thanks, Jen. And just to add to what you were saying, Jen, as well, I think previously, before we had functional skills, if an individual wanted to take up an apprenticeship, they would have to go back to college and study that GCSE English and maths. So this is opening doors for anybody of any level. And one of my favourite sayings is that apprenticeships are literally for anybody of any age, of any ability. You know, even if you left school at 15 with no GCSEs, you can then revisit, you can learn, in your 40s and 50s and 60s if you want to.
Yes.
So having that support is great. So thanks.
It is, no problem.
Brilliant. Okay, we're going to introduce Jordan now. So if Jordan would like to come onto the screen and say hello, we've got a few questions that we'd like to everyone. So Jordan, you currently have 20 apprentices, don't you, within your team?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we have 21 apprentices, yeah.
21 apprentices now. So what age range are your apprentices?
We've got apprentices who come from leaving school from 16, and I think our oldest apprentice is 27.
Brilliant. So what's the process you take to recruit those apprentices?
So we advertise for apprentices in much the same way as we would for any normal employee. We advertise on all the local job sites, local papers, that kind of stuff. But we also use the growth company's recruitment as well, having a good relationship with the lady who does the recruitment. And once we have got candidates applied, we run what we call a selection day, because what we've found in the past is if you just do an interview process, especially if they're just kind of leaving school, the candidates aren't necessarily that confident in interviewing. It's quite hard to select the best candidates. So we do a selection day that involves a lot of team building exercises as well. So that helps us to kind of review the apprentices as a whole, and it gives us the best outcome for the best apprentices.
I think screening them that way, you see their personalities come through a little bit as well, don't you?
Yeah, we get a lot from that kind of day. Can they work with others? Can they follow instruction? Can they, do they have leadership qualities? You wouldn't necessarily get that insight into an individual from kind of just doing an interview. And
very true. Yeah.
It's worked really well for us in the past, and we're hiring for attitude rather than, obviously, an apprentice is primary goal is to learn while they're here. So
Yeah.
attitude is key.
Yeah, I think attitude and having the right work ethic. It doesn't always matter what's on that piece of paper when they've left school. It's whether they've got the want to come and train and work within your business. So when you're recruiting, do you get support from the training providers? So they'll advertise on the government site. Do they do any of the CV screening, or do you like to do that as a business yourself?
We've worked with them for quite a long time now, probably 4 or 5 years, so they've got a good idea of what we're looking for. So they do some pre-screening. I think it's important for us that the apprentices or the candidates, should say, they want to go into the particular field that we're looking for. So if we're recruiting for, say, an apprentice in fabrication and welding, and they've got 10 candidates who are only really interested in maintenance, something like that, they'll obviously kind of screen them out and say and describe the job to them, what the job's going to be and what the career is going to be.
That's great support. So you mostly recruit at level 2 and 3 for your business. So as I know that you are aware that there are over 700 apprenticeship standards that range right the way up through to masters, and we talked about how you can utilise the apprenticeship training for upskilling your team. Is it something that you would consider for some of your higher management, so some leadership or some management courses or apprenticeships that you'd be interested in considering as part of their own career progression?
Yeah, I think for me, it's certainly something I'd recommend. That would obviously be a decision that's taken at the upper management of the business. But I know the success we've had with our apprenticeship scheme at level 2 and 3. And I certainly think it'd be beneficial for certain individuals in the business. Yeah, so that would be that would be my advice. Brilliant.
So have you been able to utilise the Levy Matchmaking service? So for your team that are aged over 19, where the government funds 95%, do you choose to co-invest, or have you utilised that Levy Matchmaking service? Yeah.
We co-invest personally. I wasn't fully aware of the matchmaking service, from being honest with you. But obviously we work for a big multinational company. And I think the HR department set the view that, we probably, if the government's recommending, we do never stay. But it's good that obviously these schemes are out there, because it's never stopped us from recruiting apprentices based on age before. We've certainly taken, I think, 5 apprentices on over 19 out of the 21. So it kind of encourages us to look for the best candidate rather than looking at the funding side of it.
Mm-hmm. Of course, because you may get people who are having career moves that might want a new opportunity. They might have experience in that field, but haven't actually got the qualification to back it up. And so apprenticeships don't discriminate, do they? So you've got that availability. If you are a smaller company that needs that co-investment from Levy, that support is fantastic, and it can be a game changer for some of those small businesses.
Yeah, certainly for the smaller businesses. I mean, I'll give you an example. The last apprentice we took on was 27 years old, and he's left the army, and he's looking for a changing career, obviously. We selected him for a fabrication apprenticeship, doing brilliantly so far. So it's good that we were able to do that.
That's a great success story. So have you utilised the grants as well? So recently there was a £3,000 grant for individuals to be recruited newly into business, with an additional £1,000 for 16, 17 and 18-year-olds. Is that something that you've tapped into as a business as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think from my point of view, obviously when we're doing the kind of recruitment plan, looking at next year, it certainly helps to make our case to the kind of the business leaders that we are getting additional support, and it makes it a lot more kind of palatable to them, when we're putting our case forwards, that we are getting some support. You are going to receive a grant to go towards whatever you want.
Yeah, and absolutely it can go towards whatever you want to spend it on within the business, whether that's equipment. It can go to subsidised wages. There's no criteria around how you spend those grants. Last time we spoke, you told us about 2 displaced apprentices that you'd managed to recruit within your own team. Can you tell us a little bit more about what happened there?
Yeah, so on 2 occasions over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been approached by the Grove company, and they've had apprentices placed in other companies, And sadly, you know, it does go on. You know, they've not been kind of guided the right way, and they've almost not used them as cheap labour, but they've not been satisfying what they need for to fulfil their qualifications, especially with MVQ. So they were looking to move on, and we've kind of took two apprentices on who were in that situation. One who was 2 years into his apprenticeship, the other one was 3 years into his apprenticeship, and we've had massive success. And one of them has actually just completed his apprenticeship on the 2nd of February, and he's working now in our machine shop, and he's brilliant. He's a really good lad, and you know, we never have any problems with him. He's doing the fully skilled role within the business now.
That's a great news story. So the growth company can actually help with displaced apprentices, and you might not be aware, or the business might not be aware, that if an apprentice comes to an agreement that they finish with one company, that they can actually transfer over into another business and continue getting that support. And obviously you've got that support structure in place with regard to mentoring, and that's obviously been, you know, proof with having him finish his apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So how do you feel with the other staff? So with regard to your apprentices being, you know, once they've finalised their apprenticeship, what vibe do you get off your other team members? Do you find that they also want to invest in learning and development?
Yeah, I think they do. I find that the other staff are particularly with the apprentices, they're very good with them. A lot of our employees here, especially the engineers who are working on the shop floor, a lot of them have been here for 40 to 45 years. So they've done their apprenticeship here, and they will teach the apprentices everything they know, which is not always the case when you recruit, you know, and say a skilled machinist into the business. They see them as kind of not threat, but you know, they're an equal to them, so they believe they should be as good already. But when you've got apprentices, especially having come through the scheme themselves, they're really welcome to them. They'll show them everything they know. Yeah.
It's a great example of mixing old and new. So you've got your aging workforce who are going to see these younger individuals coming in with different knowledge and different access to processes, and even just different terminology. They come in, they're mixing that knowledge, and they're both learning from each other. And also the mentors, that if you've got your current staff mentor and your apprentices, that's empowering for them as well. So it really is creating and building on that knowledge within the industry.
Yeah, that's it. And it's almost like I think some of them get the feeling they're passing the baton on almost to the next generation, and that gives them. I've seen it in some cases where, you know, people have been kind of winding down to retirement, and it's given them a new lease of life, almost getting an apprentice with them, which is great for both parties, obviously.
And there's always something new to learn. You know, apprenticeship standards are evolving all the time. So every 3 years they're reviewed. So just to keep up with, you know, the current climate and the current what's happening in the world today, you know, they have to be reviewed every 3 years. So they're constantly up to date. Okay, and just finally, can you tell us why they work within your business? So you know, linking it into your own growth plans, and why you'd also recommend them to other businesses. Why do they work for you? Yeah,
I think for us in particular, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we did a big business review, and it was quite shocking really what the demographic of our business was. And I just mentioned then we've had a lot of people here for 30, 40 years, which is great. You know, we've got long-standing employees who we trust, and they love working here. But we looked at it and we thought, we're in trouble here because we could have kind of 40% of our skilled workforce retire within the next 7 years. So we had a decision to make then, and we decided to go down the apprentice route. We wanted to bring apprentices in over a period of 10 years. To replace the people who are going to be leaving the business. I think that, you know, you can bring apprentices in, you can almost kind of, you can get them working to the way you want them to work from day one. You get them working the right way. You know, they don't carry any bad habits that they might have picked up elsewhere. And they show a sense of loyalty to the company. I mean, I know myself because I was actually an apprentice here some years ago, and I feel a sense of loyalty to where I've learned my craft, and where I've come through the ranks almost. So going off what we've seen in previous kind of decades and generations, that's the route we wanted to go down. And so far it's working very well.
Yeah, I mentioned that in one of my previous slides about the loyalty within businesses. And I think that, you know, there's some misconception that businesses might think that they're going to bring an apprentice in, they're going to study with them, and then they're going to leave. But actually, the stats are 9 out of 10 stay within that business. So 9 out of 10 apprentices. And you actually said yourself, didn't you? You keep every apprentice that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember in the 13 years I've been here, an apprentice who's made it to the end of his apprenticeship and not been offered an employment here, which obviously shows we must be doing something right, but also that the system works as well. So that's one of the reasons why we chose to reignite our apprenticeship scheme 4 or 5 years ago.
Brilliant. I think most importantly for your own business growth plans, you identified that you needed a succession plan. You identified that you had an aging workforce and you needed to bring in that younger workforce to carry on with your success. Yeah. Brilliant. So Jordan, thank you so much for coming on today. Are you okay if we open some questions out to the wider team?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions for Jordan or myself or for Lynn? No. Okay. Is that a wrap?
Sure.
Jen, have you got any questions?
Just going back to when you said about the, as you know, we've got a study program. So we have that covers many sectors throughout our sites. Do you use that pool of talent from those school leavers that go and study program, Jordan?
We use that pool of talent quite heavily. Yeah, like I say, when we look to recruit, we don't close the positions off to anyone. We open it up to anyone who wants to apply, whether that be friends and family members of existing employees, but also obviously a lot of people off the study group do apply to us, and they do obviously carry some advantage when they come to the selection day, because for us they've already learned the very basics of the trade, and from a safety aspect as well, more than anything, they're aware of what a workshop looks like, what a drill looks like, what they should be doing, when they should be wearing PPE. I think it's a really good program, to be honest, and like I say, it gives the apprentices a head start when they start with us if they've done the study program.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever been to the skills centre? You should go for a visit.
You know what? I keep saying every year I need to go, and this year I am going to go, because we're actually recruiting for another 5 apprentices in the business this year. So I've just had all of them approved, and the jobs should be going live probably early next week on the system. So I'm going to make my way down to the skills centre in the next couple of weeks and visit the study group there.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. So it's a fantastic centre that we have there, doing quite a lot on the construction side of things and skills. So no, you'll enjoy it. But no, that's fantastic. And you may be able to see some of your potential five apprentices there. You never know. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, every year I always try to get down to, well, I've tried to get down there every year. I've not managed it yet, but we always invite the study group to our site.
That's great. So it's giving them that bit of a taster.
The apprenticeships that we've got going that year, yeah, it lets them see what they're letting themselves in for the next 50 years. So, but a lot of them have never been around a factory before, so it's a good experience for them.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And when it's coming to sort of, do you look for those grades 4 to 9 in maths and English before they come to you, or are you happy for them to do their functional skills alongside their apprenticeship?
Yeah, I mean, we recruit not based on grades really here. To do the courses that we want them to do the apprenticeship that we want them to do, they do require the grade A to C in the old school maths and English, but we don't kind of exclude anyone if they've not got them grades. We still assess them at the apprenticeship selection day, the same as we would, and we work obviously with our business advisors and our skills coaches, and they'll obviously push you through the course you were talking about earlier if needs be. We've actually got a lad who we recruited last year, and he's going through that route. Failed his maths at school, but he's doing that route, and he's doing great. Yeah. So.
Just to make you aware as well, Jo, are you aware that we have got a specialist team that do help people that may need that additional support as well?
I'm not aware. No, like I say, I've got a good skills coach who we work with, and like I say, business advisor. So they've probably kind of shielded me from that a little bit and took care of it for me. But yeah, I know there is a scheme there because we're utilising it at the moment.
That's great, and it shows that you're quite open to any learner really, or any potential apprentice that wants to join the business. So it's not about being academic as well, it's about them as an individual, but also how they can their practical skills as well. Am I right in saying that? That's
100% right. I mean, we've got 500 people on site here, and it takes all kinds of personalities and skills to make a business, and someone who's got grade A in English might not be as good at welding two pipes together as someone who's not. So we never shut the door to anyone. We recognise that businesses require all kinds of characters and skills.
You do. That's fantastic. No, that's lovely. Well, that's it from me. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Jen, as well. We do have a question. So we've got a question from Sarah. So she's having trouble with her mic and her camera. She'd like some information on the recruitment side with GC. She's already working with us, so we can send something over to Sarah if we've got her email. We'll also be doing a follow-up email for any attendees as well with the slides. So thanks everyone for today. Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to answer those questions.
No problem.
Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.